Let me know when. Oh, welcome everyone on DataOps Poland meetup. Today, Dragonfly, and just so I'm stop sharing my screen. Zhou, you are our star, so stage is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Thomas. Let me try sharing again. Let's see if that works.
Yep, perfect. We see
Yep.
the screen.
Nice. Okay, then uh, again, my name is Joe, and I'm a developer advocate at DragonflyDB, and it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Without further ado, we'll get started. So today we're going to talk about three things, right? So we're going to talk about what exactly is Dragonfly, because I suppose many um, audience here, yeah, maybe you hear Dragonfly the first time. We'll go, and after that, we're going to go through a very classical real-time readable application code example. We may dive into some details, depending on how I do the time management. And last but not least, we're going to do a migration demo from Redis to Dragonfly using the Sentinel promotion technique. And yeah, it should be zero downtime for the migration. Yeah, before we get started, I think I was running the demo through myself yesterday. Um, I think it's a quite boring demo. Why boring? Because infrastructure, they should be boring, right? We don't want to get any surprises, especially while we're sleeping at night. But it's also very magical because it shows how compatible, like how highly compatible Dragonfly is with Redis. So I have this mixed feelings of boring and magical. I hope you feel the same. Cool. So Dragonfly, it is a drop-in Redis replacement that originated by our CEO and CTO, and now it's open source and community driven. Yeah, it's a drop-in replacement, so it's not an alternative. So sometimes people may hear like, oh, say Superbase is an alternative of Firebase, right? So they provide similar functionalities. But Dragonfly, it is not an alternative. It's a drop-in replacement, meaning it's protocol-wise, command-wise, it is compatible with Redis, which means that if you ever decide to migrate, you should experience minimum to zero code changes, also minimal or zero configuration changes. This is very critical to keep in mind because it's a very important design decision that we made and it's fundamental to the demo I'm about to show later as well. Yeah, we have broadly speaking, we have two offerings or editions of the Dragonfly database. The first is a community edition, which is totally open source. We have 21 stars, 21K stars at the moment. Thank you all for supporting. If it's not started, please go star us right now. Thank you so much. Yeah, but what was very impressive to me when I first time found out Dragonfly is that on a single instance, it is able to achieve 4 million QPS. Um, in comparison with a Redis single instance, it's like 25 times the throughput, right? And we're also able to handle 1 TB of in-memory data. Yeah, so the design principle we have here is that we try to utilize the modern hardware, like the multi-cores. We push that to the limit first, and then we discuss something about horizontal scalability, like clustering, right? But we have to utilize the hardware uh, fully first. So yeah, and also as I mentioned, protocol-wise, it's 100% compatible with Redis and Memcached. Um, and in terms of hardware, we run some benchmarks ourselves. We can provide up to 50% cost savings in terms of like less memory or less machines you need for your data set. Currently, we have primary replica for HA, and we're working on like other clustering and high availability solutions as well. We also have a very active community, and you can check us out on GitHub and Discord. We also have a cloud offering, which is a typical strategy for startups like DragonflyDB, the company. It's based on the community project, and in the cloud version we have like more features like monitoring, automatically scheduled snapshots. Well, that flag is also available in the community version, but we manage those for you. We have HA and we have automatic version updates, right? And we pay a lot of attention to security, compliance as well. And in terms of the pricing model, I'm not sure about you guys. I've encountered some pricing models that are 2 pages long and that I don't understand. The thing that got me is that I don't want to develop an application based on the read and write patterns that's been guided by the pricing model, if you know what I mean, right? Like, I just want to use that piece of software however I want, right? So for Dragonfly Cloud, we only charge for the provision memory and nothing else. And as I mentioned earlier, we did some benchmark and we could achieve maybe up to 50% more efficient in terms of hardware. Yeah, and at the moment we are onboarding customers for Dragonfly Cloud on a waitlist basis. So yeah, it's not GA yet, but if you and your team are ever interested, please you can contact us, and you can also find the form to fill out on our website as well. Cool. So yeah, that's the brief introduction for Dragonfly and Dragonfly Cloud so far. I'm gonna pause a little bit, see if there are questions at the moment. If not, we'll continue and we can take questions later as well. So yeah. Cool. Maybe not that moment, so we're gonna do that later then. Nice. So next up, we're gonna talk about a very classical real-time leaderboard application that you can build to use the Dragonfly or the Redis API. Yeah. Maybe you're building like a game server, right? You want to have a place to display the rankings of your players, your users, right? Or something else. Maybe your app can grant some sort of points to your users as well. Then maybe a weekly leaderboard, a monthly leaderboard would be nice. And yeah, so when that happens, maybe we don't want the request to hit the database at all, right? So what we can do is that we can use the sorted set data type in Dragonfly or Redis to store the user scores and IDs. So yeah, so this key, under this key, it is one key, and it represents multiple, maybe thousands, maybe more than that, maybe billions of user scores, right? So it's a sort of set, so it contains the user ID as well as the score. Then on that leaderboard application, maybe you don't want to show all the details of your user, right? You just need some fields, maybe 5, 6 fields, right? That's why you can cache or store individual users' information that is only needed for that leaderboard application in Dragonfly as well, right? So by using these 2 data types, so these keys we will have multiple, right? Because we'll have like plenty of users. For the sorted set key, we will have 1, right? So by using these 2 data types, yeah, you can build a leaderboard application, and when the request hit, it just Dragonfly is going to be able to handle that, and the query never reaches the database. Cool. So yeah, that's that, and all the examples I talk about, they are available in our examples public repo, and in this case, I was talking about the leaderboard example, right? And we're going to do our migration demo within this repo as well. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. Nice. So that's it. We can probably head over to this repo a little bit as well. So I'm under the Dragonfly examples repo and the leaderboard sub repo. And this is basically our application written in Go. It's quite standard, only and easy, only two endpoints. One to increase the score of a user, and the other to, so this one is the one to increase the score of a user. And this is the one to get the top users, right? And in this mem store package, we have, as you can see, we use the Go Redis library, which is the official Go library for Redis. And we just use that straight. You don't have to change any of your code. And this library provides the type commands like hset, expire, that incur by, stuff like that. Right? So these are like essentially Redis commands. And if your code works for Redis, it will work for Dragonfly as well. We don't change anything here. Right? And also, while we are connecting to the Redis or Dragonfly, the cluster or the primary replica, we're using Sentinels. I'm going to show that later. So yeah, that's the basic setup. You can follow along the README. And what I'm about to show you here, I'm going to use this Docker Compose file to set everything up. So what I'm going to do for the migration is that we're going to have a source Redis instance, which is the instance we want to migrate from. And we have the Dragonfly instance, which is the kind of the new instance we want to migrate to. Right? And we have like 3 Sentinel instances, more on that later. And then we have this leaderboard application. It's the actual Go application, service application that's been running. Yeah, it will be backed by the Redis and Dragonfly instance for the real-time leaderboard functionality. Nice. So yeah, let me start the service here and see it in action maybe. So if I do the Docker Compose up in the repo I just showed you, it will set everything up locally for me, right? And then if I head over to this API, Insomnia, so I can send like this increased user score request. I'm gonna do it like one by one. Oh, let's do it. Hold on a second. This didn't happen when it's always part of the live demo, I suppose. Maybe I have something running locally. Oh, yeah, I didn't connect properly. Let me clear my Docker desktop a little bit. So, okay, this shouldn't be running. And yeah, okay, let's try again. Oh, still not talking to you. Let's see. That's weird. Yeah, I think it worked this time. So I have some hang Redis instances or Dragonfly instances because I work for them. I work with them every day. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think the service is running. The Dragonfly, the Redis, the Sentinel instances are all running. Let's check the API first. So yeah, I'm able to increase scores for like user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm able to get the top users, right? I'm able to get the top users from the API. So like so. Cool. So yeah, that's the application we just showed earlier. And let's talk about migration techniques a little bit, right? So we have documentation, and there are several ways that if you ever decide to do the migration or try it, you can do like snapshot and restore, replication, or a sentinel promotion. Right? So the list from top to bottom is kind of like from the easiest to the hardest. But to be honest, even the hardest setup, like what I'm going to show you in a few minutes, the sentinel promotion, is not that hard to set up. So yeah, you're welcome to check it out, the documentation on that as well. So what is Sentinel, right? So for folks that are not familiar with this concept, Sentinel is our high availability solution for Redis, right? It provides functionalities like monitoring. It's also a configuration provider. And most importantly, it can perform automatic failover for your Redis or Dragonfly instances, right? So essentially, it's a Redis instance running in a special mode. And it provides the functionalities listed above here, but it doesn't provide data manipulation functionalities like reads and writes. And Sentinel, it can also be a cluster so that it provides high availability for itself, right? So what I have over here in this Docker compose file is a topology. Looks like this, right? So we have 3 Sentinel instances, and they are kind of like a guard, like they are the Sentinel cluster, and they are all monitoring the Redis instance, which is the primary at the moment. We also have a Dragonfly instance that's running aside, but at the moment, they have nothing to do with each other, like they're not related. Right? So this is what we have now. To check that, let's head to terminal for stack. On my bottom left terminal, I'm going to connect to Redis. And on my bottom right, this one, I'm going to be connecting to Dragonfly. And yeah, it's just running on a different port. And as you can see, we can use Redis CLI to connect to Dragonfly as well. Here, just to make sure, I'm going to do a /db so that we don't have any data in the Dragonfly instance, just to make sure. Cool, nice. So on the Redis instance, let me do the info server command just to make sure. As you can see, this is indeed a v6 Redis instance, right? And if I do the info replication command, as you can see here, it is the primary, the master at the moment, and it doesn't have any replica that's been connected to it. Right? Similar deal for Dragonfly instance. Yeah, this is Dragonfly v1.10. We do keep some output from, for compatibility reasons, but this is indeed a Dragonfly instance. And similar deal for replication. At the moment, this Dragonfly instance is also a primary. So both of them are primary. Cool, and they have nothing to do with each other. And this Redis instance, it already has the keys that we used to back the real-time leaderboard application. And on the Dragonfly side, we have nothing at the moment. Cool. Next up, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to issue the replica of command on the Dragonfly instance, pointing to the source Redis instance we're migrating away from, right? So I'm going to do replica of, and within the Docker network, this is the Redis source instance, and the port is the default. Yeah, by doing that, the Sentinel cluster, they are aware of the topology changes as well. And after it becomes steady, let's check. So as you can see, the Dragonfly instance, it already has all the keys that's being replicated from the Redis, the source Redis instance here as well, right? And the Sentinel instances are also aware of this change. Nice. So what we did is that we issued the replica of commands, and soon after, the Sentinel cluster, it will be aware of both the primary and replica as well. I put dotted lines here because if a replica goes down, the Sentinel cluster doesn't care that much, but it does monitor both. It does monitor the primary and the replica. So if a primary goes down, then the Sentinel cluster, they're going to have a meeting and discuss who to promote as the next primary. So yeah, we have this topology now, and at the moment, Dragonfly has the same data as the Redis instance, and we don't have any additional rights. Maybe your instance can be busy, but for this demo, we don't have additional rights that's being sent to the primary. So what if I issue? Oh, let's double check first. So info replication. So now this Redis instance is still the primary, and it has one replica connected to it, which is the Dragonfly instance. Right? And if we do the same on the Dragonfly instance, you can see now the Dragonfly instance is a replica, and I cannot, do set commands here because by default it's read-only. Cool. Now, what if I do the shutdown commands on the Redis instance? Let's give it a shot. So I do the shutdown, and the Redis instance goes offline. And as I mentioned earlier, the Sentinel cluster, they are having a very intense discussion who to promote. But since in this topology we have only one candidate left, right, which is the Dragonfly replica instance. So soon after, the Sentinel cluster will decide that, oh, okay, let's promote Dragonfly as the primary, and the Redis instance is completely offline. So this is what we have right now. And as you can see, the keys, the data is still there, and I didn't restart my server, right? And the API still works. Cool. That's it. That's the boring and yet magical demo. Let's recap what happened, right? So by doing this process, what we learned from it, right? So we know that Dragonfly is protocol-wise compatible with Redis. It uses the same Redis serialization protocol, right? At the moment, Dragonfly also supports 220 Redis commands, and we are adding new ones every day. And when we issue the replica of command, what happened is that Redis would create a snapshot file. It's also called the RDB file. Right? Then the RDB file is going to be copied over to Dragonfly, and Dragonfly is able to load it. This means that Dragonfly is able to load a snapshot file from Redis. Even though for Dragonfly, we do have our own snapshot format, which is even more compacted, but it is able to load an RDB file. Also, something not showed in this demo, if there are like additional writes during the syncing process, they will be captured and streamed over using the replication buffer as well. But for simplicity, I didn't show this part. And due to this level of compatibility, right, that's why we can use Sentinel to perform this this migration. If you think about it, there are like many pieces, like the commands, the wire protocol, the RDB file, right? And the Sentinel itself, like it needs to be able to communicate with Dragonfly as well, right? So all those pieces coming together make this migration process, I think it's quite seamless, right? And in newer versions, we can also use the flag. If you, so instead of issuing the command, you can even use a flag during the server initialization. So it becomes a replica of some instance, during initialization. Oh, by the way, it's not just that Dragonfly can be a replica of Redis. It can be Dragonfly primary replica as well, right? I'm doing this only because I want to show the migration step, but Dragonfly instances, they can be primary and replica of each other. Cool. So yeah, Sentinel is a great open source tool for high availability and for for migration, as we just saw. But during the discussion time of Sentinel, like technically everything is still up. The Sentinel cluster itself is up. The Redis instance, we shut it down. The Dragonfly instance, it was up, right? And our service, it was up as well. So technically, nothing is down. But during the discussion phase, you may experience some unresponsiveness from the Sentinel cluster, depending on your configurations. It can be longer if if you want a safer switch, or it can be shorter if you want to make it more aggressive, right? So it's not down, but maybe there will be some like request delay. Yeah, that's why in Dragonfly Cloud we're also building like stuff around it, right? So one day I had this question to one of the team member or community members, like how do we handle like version updates within the cloud service, right? So if you think about it, it's essentially a migration from an older version to a new version without any interruption. And the team is striving to make this unresponsiveness as short as possible in the cloud offering. Right? So yeah, as you can see, like things are getting connected there. Nice. That's it, and that's the introduction to DragonflyDB, the leaderboard application, as well as the migration demo. That's all from me today. If you have, yeah, and as I mentioned again, we have examples, and yeah, the Dragonfly core repo is also open source, and we also have communities on GitHub and Discord. You're welcome to join. That's it. Thank you so much, and I'm ready to take any questions. I will try my best to answer from Thomas, from everybody here. Thank you so much.